Hey guys, Walt Wagner here with TAV. Today is a very special day that we're doing a walk around video on a truck that we've been working on for going on about 2 years now. This has been a project in the making, and it's a very, very complex build, and we're very happy with how it came out. I think you will be too. At the time of this build, when we first started building it, we were a dealer for a company called 5010 for a camper, and we had a pretty cool plan going on, and it just took a lot of time with a lot of different things arriving, and then COVID and all this other stuff that's been putting a pinch on everybody involved. We are finally done with this truck. So at the time we were a dealer with 5010, and we had a plan on being able to provide a lot of these campers. Since then, a lot of things have changed and they've been harder to get a hold of. So we have other options to build a truck very, very similar to this. And there are a lot of new options available to us now. So kind of going into this build, I think you're going to like it. Check it out. So starting out from the front, we're running, for body armor, we're running C4's hybrid bumper. So it's kind of got some tube work in it and some plate work, but it's a very strong front bumper. And it's got a little more concessions for lighting. And as you can see, there's a lot of amber, but there's a mix of white as well. And they're pointed in very specific directions with very specific lens patterns. So hooked up on the same switch is the XL80 Pro, and that's in a driving combo amber, and that is also with an S2 Pro, kind of shining off to the sides of the road, also in a driving combo. Those are on the same switch. The Squadron Pro is on its own switch as like just a normal fog in an amber, and that's a good just general fog light, usually hooked up to the factory fog light switch the way we do it. And then moving up to the top of the bumper, we're running an LP6 and an LP9. The LP6 is the amber with a driving combo that's got a high and a low power, and then the LP9 is white, and that's a driving combo as well with a high and a low power. I've been a very big fan of the LP series lighting from Baja Designs. In the bumper, we're running the Come Up 12.5 RS winch with a synthetic line, and the Factor 55 Ultra Hook. It's a very popular recovery tool that we use, and that's all kind of nicely tucked away, but we don't fill in the light bar mount for with a light. We kind of leave it so we can see the drum. For skid plates on this, we're running the RCI aluminum skids, but we have them off of the truck right now because we're about to change the gear oil. We're in the final miles of the break-in period, so we're just going to leave the skid plates off till we change the gear oil, and then we'll put the skids back on there. For suspension on this truck, this is what we call our stage 3 setup, our stage 3 system when it comes to suspension. So it's total chaos, long travel, control arms up front. So it's plus 2.5 inches wider per side up front. So we're running upper and lower control arms, the boxed in upper and lower control arms with a sway bar this time because of the weight of the truck, and the chrome ollie axle shafts, extended axle shafts, and custom King coilovers with custom valving. This truck is pretty heavy, so we wanted to make sure that we're running custom valving for compression and rebound, and we're running a triple bypass shock. So you can see the quick adjusters on the bypass shock has 2 compression bypass tubes and 1 rebound bypass tube that you can adjust on the fly. You just get out of the truck, and you don't have to have tools anymore for this particular setup to just turn those knobs, and that is all personal preference. That's working by feel. When you're driving on certain terrain, you can come in and adjust the compression and rebound rate to your liking with the weight of the truck and the terrain that you're driving on. We run custom spring rates, and we can adjust the nitrogen pressures in these shocks, and we can really kind of dial this in. It's kind of like what you would see on a race truck, but set up more for supporting the weight of a truck on an expedition platform. For wheels and tires on this truck, we're running the Method Race Wheels Trail Series 704 with a bead grip technology in it. It's a 17 by 8.5 wheel with a 37 1250 17 Toyo MT. And this is a great combo that we've been running on these trucks. Right now, we're aired down to about 20 PSI in the front and about 22 PSI in the rear. And we were able to drive up all of the sand without any wheel spin. I mean, it's just effortless for this thing. We're running 529 gear ratio, Nitro gears in this with ARB air lockers. And the speedometer is also calibrated, so everything is accurate to within 1 mile an hour to a GPS. Moving up is the McNeil Racing fenders that we do a custom inner fender liner for, because we keep the preload very low on these trucks. We don't want the truck to stand any taller than it has to. We want correct amount of compression and extension travel in the suspension, so we try to keep the preload very low. With a larger tire, you got to open up your fender well, so having a larger wheel arch opening allows the tire to stuff in there without scrubbing or hitting anything. And then we have to fill that in with a handmade inner fender liner that protects your air filter, because your air filter box is just up inside there, inside the fender in the engine compartment. All right, in the engine compartment, what we've done here is we work a great deal with magnets and superchargers. And in our Tundra, in our 2018 Tundra, we had the same unit, and it proved itself extremely valuable. We loved having that power. With a heavier camper, it really helps the truck drive like a much lighter truck, and it makes it nice to drive on the highway. If you're pulling a grade or having to pass somebody, you've got power on tap immediately. There's no turbo lag or anything like that. So the magnets and supercharger has proven itself worthy for sure, for very reliable power. And kind of also in the engine compartment, we're running the ARB air compressor for running the lockers, and that's pretty much its only job, is to run the air lockers. Behind the air box, we're running the Bantam X S-Pod for the switch panel that's on the inside of the truck, which also Bluetooths your phone and makes your phone a touch screen, and you can operate all of your switches off of your phone as well. That's a nice clean addition for a switch panel. And moving over to the driver's side, we have found that a lead acid battery is working better for charging just to starting the truck. We've used a lot of different types of batteries for starting the truck, but with our dual battery setups, we've been running a lead acid interstate style battery that's easily sourceable throughout the US if you ever needed to get one. But we've got the other batteries back in the camper, so it frees up some space in the engine compartment. Looking behind the battery, we've got another fuse block by Blue Sea, a safety hub, and you can see everything's labeled to where it goes. We don't like to run all of this stuff directly off the starting battery, so that's actually linked and charging off into the camper batteries. So as you can see, this truck is wrapped in a black multicam vinyl. We've done a lot of work with multicam over the years, and it's this particular pattern is at a 300% for the size of the pattern, and we've done 500% as well. But I'm really liking how you can see the pattern so well at the 300% sizing, and the entire truck is wrapped in multicam black, and Imagecraft is the one that helps us out with this on printing it for us, and we can send them the dimensions that we need of the vehicle that we're using, that we're wrapping, and they can print it out in sections for us. And they are licensed to print multicam patterns in all of the colors that we need, and we get that directly from Imagecraft. On the roof of the truck, we're running a modified Frontrunner Slimline 2 roof rack. So we have the roof rails running the full length of the roof, and that holds the S2 Sport lights in a work scene pattern. So we have one in the very far back of the roof rack under the camper, and then one on the forward corner, and then you can move those by hand and aim them where you want. But the rack itself is pushed forward one slat, and it's shortened quite a bit, so we can maximize our usable square footage on the roof. And that's there to hold the Zargus K470 case wrapped in black multicam, and then the Onyx 6 laser light bar on the roof. That thing is ridiculously bright, and it's in a really good spot. It doesn't actually reflect off the hood in this particular scenario, so it's more for very far down the road, penetrating white light down the road. We have our harnesses that we have to make. We have a lot of lights grouped together, and we run our own harnesses down the A-pillar on both driver and passenger side to try to keep everything very clean and not have to pass through the roof itself down into the engine compartment. So for comms in this truck, we're running a rugged GMRS radio by Rugged Radios, and the antenna we put kind of where the factory AM/FM antenna would be on a custom little mount, and it's out of the way, and we've had it tested for resistance or reflective off any kind of reflection off of the windshield, and it's in about as good of a spot as you could possibly put it for these applications. For rock sliders, we're running the RCI sliders on these trucks. This one set a little bit flatter, so it makes it for a really good step if you needed to access anything off the roof or open the AluCab shower cube right over the passenger rear door. It makes it for a nice step whether the door is open or closed, and it protects your rocker panel like it's supposed to. Okay, for rear suspension, we're working with Alcan spring for all of our leaf springs, and this is a custom spring pack for the amount of weight this truck is going to see. And as you can see, there is zero squatting in this truck, and it's full of water. It's got a full water tank. This 5010 camper is full of cabinetry and everything else, a refrigerator, you name it, is on this truck, and there's no squatting at all. But it's a progressive rate leaf spring, so whether you're full of water and full of gear or not, it has a really nice ride quality to it. And as you load the truck, your spring rate will increase as you compress that spring, so it supports itself far better under a load than a factory spring would. We're running a 3-inch diameter King, 12-inch stroke King with internal bypass and a high-speed compression adjuster on there with the Total Chaos shock relocation kit. I've been very happy with the strength and the overall performance of this entire setup. So what we'll do is a quick walk around on the outside of this camper, tell you what the camper is, and then we'll do an inside view of what's on the inside of the camper. So on the passenger side, starting from front to back, we're using an AluCab shower cube because the shower is just to the left of it inside the camper. So you can open this hatch and then access the shower from there. And the shower cube will go down to the ground, and you could have the door of the truck open or closed, but it's easy to access from there. Kind of moving back a little bit, we're using the Expedition Essentials MaxTrax mount, and this particular mount only works with the standard MaxTrax, not the MaxTrax Extremes. It's a nice tight fit, and it is lockable. It's locked in place right now, so you can actually double lock this mount. You can use a padlock at the top, and then just below that is a cylinder style key that works in its own provided lock by Expedition Essentials. There's 2 MaxTrax in there on this side, and there's 2 more on the driver's side. And we we upgraded the gas struts on the hatch to where it would support the weight of this once it's opened. Kind of moving back a little bit, those little D-rings you see on the corner is for a TRX strap workout mount. The straps are in the lower compartment, and this client wants to be able to work out at camp, so he can hook up right to that, and it's a nice powder coated piece that we just put up in that place kind of out of the way. Right above that is the WeBoost mount that we put on a ram mount. So as you're driving, you're in transit, and it's a shorter mount or shorter antenna as well. You can drive with that up or down. It doesn't really matter. We have it in the down position right now just for clearance, but if you wanted to use it, you could use it that way, or you can extend it, deploy it, and use it while you're driving or at camp. When you're at camp, you can extend it even higher because the camper opens up as a wedge. And we'll do that here in just a second. Working our way around to the back of the camper, we are, with the lighting we're using, this client wanted some red lights, overhead lights. So we're running the S2 Pro, and it's more of like a chase light or like an emergency light for him, because it's a Pro and it's more of a spotlight pattern. So it's going to be seen from a long ways away. And just below that, you can see the Demos shovel, Delta series shovel in the Demos mount. It's mounted upside down right there. That is lockable in place, so you can secure that, not have to worry about it getting stolen. And that's nice and high out of the way. It's very light, so you don't have to worry about it being too heavy, working with it over your head. To the driver's side of the camper, we are using the Expedition Essentials propane tank mount, which is also locked, so you can lock your propane tank into the mount, and that's plumbed into the camper for the heat. And it's easy to get out, so you can refill it. Kind of moving down a little bit, we've got the S2 Pro in a work scene as a backup light. You have reverse lights in the taillights of the camper, but this is on its own switch, and it lights up a great deal of area behind the truck, so you can see really well. And the camera, the factory tailgate camera, is a overhead in the center of the door, so it lights up the whole area behind you, and you can see over the top of the spare tire. On the driver's side of the truck, we're working with an Alucab shadow awning. It's a 270 degree awning, and that deploys out 270 degrees, and there's also a wall kit for this that's going to go to the ground and completely enclose and make another living space on the outside of the truck. So you have walls all the way around and into the back of the camper. In an effort to keep the receiver hitches in its factory location, since the clearance on the bed is so high, we just left the factory receiver hitch in place with slight modifications. But for a tire carrier, this camper is pretty unique. There's nowhere, because it is a short bed Tundra, we had to use the best use of space for every single thing incorporated. So rigged makes it really killer in a super strong swing out tire carrier, and we have 2 4-gallon roto packs mounted to the back side of that, and those come with the rigged comes with its own receiver hitch, and it is a towing rated receiver hitch. In this scenario though, we had to raise it up, so we just ordered a 7.5-inch rise receiver hitch and put the rigged in that so we could get the tire higher off the ground. Another use of space issue that we would have is having a place to store the race jack. So we work with Pro Eagle on all of our race jacks, and with the spare tire not being under the truck anymore, we wanted to still utilize that space. So we made a cradle for the race jack to mount into, and we simply secured that with a single ratchet strap, and it's completely up and out of the way, out of harm's way. So if you did need to pull that out of there, it's down low, about hip height, so you don't have to worry about having to lift the jack up and over your head or over a bed rail or anything like that. It's down low where it's easy to manage. And we can keep the cover over it as well, so you won't really notice that it's a jack with the cover on it and the tire in place, so it's not too bad, and it can be locked into place as well. This truck has got quite a bit of fuel capacity to it. So the factory tank has been swapped out prior to us getting the truck, and it's running I believe it's a 46-gallon transfer flow tank, and that's the name of the company, is Transfer Flow. So it's got roughly 46 gallons in that tank, but then he's got 8 more gallons capacity on the swing out. So it's quite a bit of range. So the camper that's on this truck is made by a company called 5010, and it is a German company, which it's an aluminum camper and a composite camper, and it's a flatbed. So the 2 square holes you see on each side, you can actually lift this camper off and you have a flatbed. But this truck has plumbing all through the bed, so it's more of a permanent fixture on this one. Going to kind of show you the cabinetry on the outside, and then we'll show a view of what's inside these hatches. So from the bottom, this rear compartment here, I've just got, now the client's going to kind of put his stuff in anywhere he wants it, but this opens up. All of his recovery gear is staged right in here. And this box is pretty deep, so you can fit quite a bit more recovery gear in here. The handle to his race jack is in here, gloves, some ARB recovery stuff, kinetic rope. You know, all this stuff can stuff back in here and you have quite a bit of room. And that's lockable. These are all key to like. So you have one key basically for the whole thing. This is the driver's side compartment. And this is some of the cabinetry that's on the inside, so as the furniture. We left this compartment off, or this panel off, so you could actually see where the electrical compartment is. And there's a lot going on in here. It's a full Victron system, pure sine wave inverter, and lithium battery here. There is another battery right here that powers the Oasis compressor. Now, this is accessible from the inside of the camper. There's a hatch that comes down. So when we put this cover back on, you can actually access that stuff from the inside. But for filming, we wanted to just leave that off. So you open this compartment. This is an Oasis compressor. And this is one of the gnarliest compressors I've ever used. I love this compressor. We've got a CO2 detector in here. The Propex heater is mounted right behind this, and it's ducted into the compartment, the main living compartment in here. Propane line is here. A couple more like air hoses and stuff. And then this top hatch, it can actually be opened from the inside. And we'll go over that stuff in just a second. Moving around to the back, this drawer is quite a large drawer. It's got some recovery gear in it. It's got a Deadman in here. This is the AluCab ladder that you would hook up right here, and then you can just leave that hooked up to get in and out of the camper. This is a 4-hose deflator and inflator. You can kind of keep whatever you want to in this compartment. So with the camper down, in the down position, like you would drive down the road, you can kind of see how much room you've got in here. You can access these cabinets, some of these from right here by the door, if you needed to grab anything from there. There's another cabinet up here, which is where the sink is, but you can see where your table is, and we'll go through all of this in just a second, just to kind of show you the layout here. Coming around to the passenger side. This is another compartment. You can actually see how large this is inside. These are just the TRX straps for the workout piece. But you can keep quite a bit of stuff in this rear compartment here. You've got your National Luna lights we wired in right here. It's another storage compartment. And all of these cabinet doors can come off. So there's, if you needed to pull it off of there for whatever reason, you could. This drawer deploys out like this, or it actually goes to the inside as well. So if you've got food or whatever in here, you can open it from the inside. Right now, we've just got some fire extinguishers staged and some of his gear just kind of stowed in here. This is where your hot shower would be. So we were testing all this stuff earlier. So you've got a water level here in this sight glass, so you can run it all the way up and see when it's full. Just plug your hot shower in here. The shower cube comes down to the ground. You can run the hose from that right into the shower cube. And this is where your water fill is. So you can just undo this and put a hose right into it and fill your tank up that way. Deploy the shower cube real quick. And then the shower cube can be staked to the ground. I don't have this stakes, but this can basically be staked to the ground, holding it tight on all four corners. And then your zipper is over here, which would make it square. Okay, for the layout on the inside of the camper, this is a floor plan that Goose Gear was offering back when this camper was available for the 5010. And this particular layout has a sink with hot water, and it just drains straight out the back, so you can hook up a hose to the spigot on the outside and just drain it away from camp. And there is a large amount of storage in this compartment here underneath the sink, and it drops down into the floor as well. There are 2 benches that you can sit on. Both have storage in them. The one on the passenger side is just open storage in this particular one. You have the drawer below it. Like I mentioned from the outside, that drawer opens to the inside as well. And just in front of that bench, you have another cabinet that lowers down to access your water tank and plumbing fittings and things like that next to your fridge. The Dometic fridge is a fixed unit. That's a stood up style fridge, kind of like a mini fridge in a college dorm room or something. It's a very popular style fridge for these campers. On the driver's side, you can open that cabinet there, and that accesses your electrical cabinet. And you can see your full breaker panel, your Victron interface there where you can see the voltage. Right now we're at 13.2 volts because we're working off of solar. You've got the Propex heater interface there that you can turn your heater on and adjust that thermostat. And we went from the inverter on the inside and put two plug sockets and a couple USB ports right there, so you can charge laptops and phones and things like that. In this camper, we're running the Lagoon style adjustable table, so that locks into place as it sits right there, and you can close the camper with that in its current location, and it doesn't swing around or move around. And it's just large enough for 2 people to eat, or set up a computer or something right there. Even with the bed in the down position, right now the bed is in the up position. With the bed in the down position, there's enough room for the table to be used. This rearward cupboard here on the driver's side is just open storage, available storage. That's the one you can see from the outside, and then the air compressor and the heater is housed in that one with additional storage space. This camper will also have a wrap-on toilet, and it will be mounted right here against the bulkhead and just for underway stowage, and then you can kind of put that wherever you need to use it. A wrap-on electric toilet. All right, so for the switch panel, like we were talking about, we're running the Bantam X S-Pod, and it's mounted right here in the center console. We're running the ARB lockers off of this as well, so we can run the air compressor, the ARB air compressor. That kicks that on. The rear locker, front locker. These are the amber lights on the bumper that we were talking about. The white flush mounts on the back of the truck are right here, so you don't actually have to be looking at this to operate it. You can be looking ahead and just reach down and feel for each switch. You can feel this is the bottom left, and that's your rear lights, so you can just hit that. This is the roof rack left white lights, roof rack right white lights, and then the red lights on the back of the truck. I like this panel. You can actually get a touchscreen panel from S-Pod, but I personally like this panel because you don't have to be focused your eyes on this as you're driving if you're using them for running lights. Kind of moving just to the right of that is the WeBoost power cord. It's plugged in. It gets its power right here, which is also a USB charger if you needed it. And the antenna for the internal antenna for the WeBoost is right here by the steering column. Moving back to the right, this is the Rugged Radios GMRS radio. It's on a magnet mount for the mic. It's a nice, easy place to have it. It's kind of out of the way, right where you can use it. He already had the Alpine Halo 9 unit in this truck. We kind of added a couple mounts. This is the 67 brand mounts. This is a phone mount, and this is more of an iPad mount. And these are adjustable all over, so you can kind of push it out of the way if you needed to. You can get different lengths, but driving out here, I have my phone in this one, and you can just glance at it and see if somebody is calling or if you're using navigation or whatever, and this thing is super sturdy. It's one of the sturdiest mounts I've ever used. Kind of looking back into the center console here too, since the LP series lights are a high and a low power, you can't run those off of the S-Pod. So we made a small ABS cover in here in the center console, and we're running, this is the light bar on the roof, and it's a single position, or it's powered on, is up is on, and then center is off. But this is high power for the LP9, low power, and then high and low power for the LP6s. This is a really nice spot to have it, because as you're driving, if you're using those, these switches are right at your fingertips. You can reach them, and to keep from blinding somebody coming at you, you can keep your fingers directly on the switch and have quick access to them. Something else that's very important that we do to all of these trucks is a Revelco anti-theft device. This is a keyed, like a key fob, a fob that is particular to your vehicle. So this isn't wired the same as another vehicle. There's 2 of these that come with your kit that are the same. And when we set this up, basically you still have power to the truck, but you can't start this truck. It interrupts the ability for the truck to actually start. So somebody would have to actually lift your vehicle off the ground to take it. So you basically just plug that in and it's good to go. You can drive it. All right, that wraps up this walk around of the 2017 Toyota Tundra Crew Max. And this is, again, this is one we're really proud of, and we're happy to be finished up with it and being able to use this thing finally. The client's coming in here in a couple days to start traveling with it, and I can't wait to see his reaction. So if you want to see this build and others like it, check us out on Instagram at TAV LLC on Instagram, on our YouTube channel, obviously Tactical Application Vehicles, and our website, tavllc.com.